to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Here, these are conversations that will differentiate you from your competition. Now, if you don't want to be different than your competition, probably should just go ahead and shut this off.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Like when we audit the mod and do the mod master and give them the actionable items that they can do in order to lower their cost of risk.
This is Power Producers Shop Talk. Production redefined.
Reasonable and what wasn't, and I think that that's spot on. And these people that we're talking with don't necessarily understand what their exposures are and what they can even do about them when they're uncovered. So I do like that what we're able to provide is something tangible, action items that they can do.
Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, episode 17.
17.
Broker, she's only 17. Kip Winger said it best.
Lucky number 17.
Yeah, this is broker of record letters are not the devil. So here's what I know. 50% of you are going to hate my guts when I tell you this. The other 50% are going to be like, been waiting for a dude to have our back like that. So I get it up front. It's information, people. Take it for what it is. If you hate it, it's because you're losing to it. You probably should adapt and adopt sooner than later. But that being said,
finish your story here.
I'm gonna start it again. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about my youngest and middle sons and their absolute disdain for each other most days. And they came over to the office yesterday because Caroline had gymnastics. I was working late. Annie brought Ethan over. Landon had walked over after school to get his hair cut. And so he came down to the office. Vu. Oh, yeah. Vu, just crushing the hair.
Vu crushes that. What'd you do, a 2-for-1 yesterday?
Yeah, I hit it up. I hit it up and told him I was going to send Landon by later. So anyhow, they're here. And one of the things that I do is I let my kids have very specific office tasks, right? They love coming here, and I want them to come because I want them to get used to what when they're 30 years old, they could say, I remember when we used to go to the agency and visit Dad, and he would let us get in his top desk drawer and have some gum, and we got to work, whatever.
Come on,
right?
Kids, have some gum.
Well, Ethan's thing is fabuloso, by the way, just so you know.
He likes to drink it, or
no? He loves the smell of it, as do I.
Who doesn't? And
so he always walks in, and the very first thing he does is goes and looks under the sink.
Pours him an ice cold glass of Fabuloso.
Yeah, he wants to immediately start mopping with it, and so he goes to check the level of it. So I've got a regular size bottle, but then I have a gallon bottle that I bought at Sam's, and he can't handle the gallon, so he wants me to pour off the gallon into the smaller one, and then he'll start making his mop bucket to clean up or whatever. But the other thing that I do is anything that needs shredded and destroyed after we scan it in, I let it sit in a pile. And then on the weekends, typically I'll come by on Saturday, check the mail. One of the kids is with me. I let them shred. I give them a couple bucks. We stop at Wawa. They get candy and a slushie or whatever. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when you have two of them here and they both want to shred. So I'm sitting in the office and they're going like cats and dogs. And then all of a sudden it's dead quiet. And I'm like, okay, something's up. Either it was one of those deals like you see on YouTube where two MMA fighters simultaneously knock each other out.
Yeah.
Or those
videos are crazy, by the way.
Yeah. Or they had done something really stupid and they were trying to keep it from me. So I look and they had been arguing over the contractor cleanup bag that was 2 bins deep in shredded paper that was getting ready to get hauled off. And the whole thing just busted. It looked like Times Square in the middle of the office hallway. Like, I just can't even describe to you. So I told him to go ahead and start vacuuming it up. Well, then guess what happens? Vacuum cleaner gets clogged. Nobody can figure out how to get it unclogged. It's clogged at the bottom where the brush is that, agitates the carpet and brings the dirt to the surface prior to sucking it in. Then it was clogged in the actual tube that carries it into the receptacle that holds everything. And then it was clogged again at the mouth of that. It took me like 20 minutes to disassemble this thing, take all the filters out, get everything cleaned up just to get the vacuuming done. So yeah, there's that.
That's fantastic.
I love my kids so much.
Maybe one at a time.
You know what else I love? I love broker record letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
You know why they
controversial
don't?
topic.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. You know why they don't like it? Because people use them against them.
Yeah, because they get business taken from them.
Because they're not doing their job.
Right.
I mean, look, if we boil it all down, that's what it ends up to, right? Somebody's not doing their job. Here's where we have issues. And you know this as well as I do, because we actually have this happen to us periodically.
Mm-hmm.
People don't use them right in some occasions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So a small percentage of agents or agencies are a little bit sly with how they present a BOR and maybe not 100% forthright. You know, payroll companies, I'll go ahead and call them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, payroll company, we know what you're doing. You're
Right.
not fooling me. Slide that
Maybe
BOR in with your onboarding paperwork.
Yeah, exactly. Fooling the client for sure.
And
Yeah,
the
just go
client
ahead and
doesn't-
sign everything that's in here, and we'll get you taken care of.
Yeah, and the client doesn't know half the time. Ladies and gentlemen,
almost none of the time.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. We can all agree that's sleazy. We don't like it.
Right.
I mean, whoever presented that BOR should get punched in the face immediately, multiple times.
I'm going to do it.
I will too. I will give them a cross-face crippler or quite possibly the DDT.
The old DDT.
Just give them the Jake the Snake right there, plain as day. But that's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is the whole actual tool of the agent of record or broker of record letter. And that in and of itself is not bad. It is not sleazy. It is not slimy. It is a tool that was developed by our industry so that the client can pick the agent that they want. This isn't about
allowed to do that.
This isn't about you going out and getting renewal terms, and at the last minute somebody comes in and gives your client smoke and mirrors, and they sign everything over to them, and you lose the account because of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what we do every single day. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is I don't understand why an agent should think that they can do a piss poor job or deliver average results and retain an account. But assuming that they're not going to retain it, I think it's even more presumptive that the agent should think that they shouldn't have to relinquish the insurance company that client is currently with because they're on it. Here's a fun fact, people. If you're have an account with Chubb and you're not doing your job, and Chubb is the best solution for the insurance product, but your firm is not the best solution for the value proposition, why should the client be punished and forced to move to a different carrier so that they can get the value they need because you're not delivering it? There's no reason at all that should happen.
I agree.
And the agencies that are out there that are using broker of record letters, agent of record letters the correct way are actually operating well within the framework of what the industry gives us, and we're not hiding behind it. I've never taken an AOR and slipped it into a stack of papers and just had somebody sign it. So
I mean, what's that? How do you think that makes you look like after they because they're going to find out, like, you're just going to slide it in? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like why somebody would want to use it like that.
It's like I tell my kids, don't lie to me. I'm going to get you eventually. And then I'm going to go back and remember when I asked you to be honest with me and you weren't.
Right.
There's far less consequences if you're honest with me on the front end. But I mean, that completely blows my mind. But you have to dial it back. And I understand that the reason why agents get upset is because they just don't realize they're inadequate in what they're delivering. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I don't mean that disrespectfully at all. But I see it all the time. Somebody will start bitching and moaning about losing an account. And it's always, and they came in and used an AOR and took everything from me, blah, 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 blah.
What do you think the reason for that is?
Yeah, the reason they took the AOR is because you weren't doing your job.
Right.
And when I say that they're inadequate in what they're delivering, people, you have to understand something. In 2020, you can't be an insurance salesperson and retain your accounts. It's just not going to happen. Now, there may be a couple of outliers out there, Ned Ryerson on steroids that are able to just absolutely crush insurance sales. And that's all they try and do. They're going to sell you life insurance. And, their kid gets on your little league team and all of the parents cringe because they know that in the stands, these people are going to try and sell them life and homeowners and everything else or insure their business or whatever. That's not what we're talking about. Insurance sales does not cut it. Customer experience or customer service does not cut it anymore. And I see it all the time.
It's expected. Customer service is expected.
It is the expectation.
Right.
And these people get mad because every time they needed a certificate, we had it. Every time they needed to add a vehicle, we had it, taken care of, or delete a vehicle or change drivers, or when a claim came in, we took it. Okay, great. That's called your job description. That's the bare minimum of what you're supposed to do. But if I go into that same account and you've done everything to perfection on executing the administration of an insurance policy, but the experience mod is a 1.4 on the comp, all of the other benchmarks in terms of frequency and severity are way out of line. The claims are out of sorts on the GL and everything else. Guess what, guys? I'm going to take that piece of business from you because I'm looking at fixing all of that other stuff. And what I see from regular agency owners, and when I mean regular, I'm just saying like Main Street type business, is when it comes to claims and when it comes to delivering value, it's I did this basic task on time. I got this certificate to where it needed to go. And from a claim standpoint, they're managing the loss ratio in their book of business with that carrier, not because they're trying to help the client, but because they want to make sure they get their own profit sharing and contingencies at the end of the year. And so I saw an example. What got me fired up about this a couple of weeks ago, I saw an example from a guy that's by all accounts a great agent, I'm sure. But he was complaining that he had a long-time account that had started out with him at $15,000 in premium, and over 10 years, it grew to $150,000 in premium. And they left him. And the remark was that this big city agency came in with their flashy tools and all of this stuff. And not only did they leave me, but they paid $5,000 more to do it. People, listen to what I just said. Not only did they leave the agency, but they paid more money to do it.
Right.
That means that client wasn't getting value in that relationship. And what they really wanted and what they really needed wasn't available from the current representation. And so they recognized that need and were convinced by the other firm that they could meet that need, so much so that they took the program over the way that it was and allowed them to make whatever modifications needed to be made that resulted in them getting paid an additional $5,000 in premium.
Was it endorsements or modifications they made to the policy, or was it just stuff that they were charging them for, say, doing something like ModMaster, or is it unclear?
That's unclear because we didn't get into that level of specifics. But
it'd be interesting to know, though.
But either way, it's still $5,000 more money, right?
Right.
So to me,
it wasn't about the money.
It's not about the money.
Yeah.
But to everybody that's an insurance salesperson, it is about the money because that's what they equate value with is cheap premium. People, value is not cheap premium. Cheap premium is great, but if you have uncovered things because the premium's cheap, guess what? It's either your E&O or out of your client's pocket, which then gets added to the total cost of risk. And it goes back to what I say all the time. The cheapest insurance policy is typically the most expensive in the long run.
And you can only go so low on the premiums. You can only get so many discounts and multi-line, whatever. I mean, once you're at the floor, you're at the floor. I mean, and if that's all you're going in with and you have no value, then of course you're going to get that swiped.
And that's the problem. It's why I say all the time, you cannot tie your compensation to the sale of a product. You are not a trusted advisor in that role. You are a salesman or a saleswoman in that role, because that's what you do. You sell a product, you get a commission. That's why in our last episode, we talked about service fees. That's a way to set yourself up and differentiate yourself. But if I go in and I say, look, we've got this learning management system, and oh, by the way, we ran your experience modification factor audit, and it came back that there's a discrepancy there. We think that we can get some money for you here. But more importantly, we identified these top loss drivers, and we have some learning management system training that we want your people to go through to help us get that under control. And the cool part is you're going to get a dashboard. You're going to know everybody who's gone through the training, who's left to go through the training, all of that stuff. And we've built this risk management action plan. We're going to update that for you in real time every month, so you know where you're at and what's going on, and just keep going on and on down the road. And all of a sudden, guess what? I haven't said a dang thing about insurance. Not one thing that came out of my mouth had anything to do with the placement of an insurance policy. But the problem is insurance salespeople, agency owners that focus on selling insurance and not delivering value, have to understand that's not smoke and mirrors, people. That's a value proposition. And so what I watched was the phenomenon of all of these agency owners that were talking,
pity party,
just piling on. Oh, clients are so disloyal. You bust your hump for them. They call you at 7 o'clock at night because they had a claim, and you stop everything you're doing to take care of it. And I work really hard to get them the best rates and do this and do that. Guess what, people? You can work as hard as you possibly can in that environment, and it will never be enough because your focus is on the wrong thing. And I know that like I said, I started this episode out saying 50% of the people are going to hate my guts for what I have to say, and the other 50% are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But you can't look at an inanimate, unemotional object like an agent of record letter and say it's a horrible tool or it's sleazy to use it, when it's the tool that was identified by the insurance industry to make sure that those clients have a say as to who represents them. If they didn't have that, what would happen? Like,
it'd just be, they'd be locked into just dealing with your shitty service and until renewal, which is ridiculous.
And you think about it, like how many other industries are like that, where you can't make a change if you don't want to? Maybe cell phones, because but now they have unlocked cell phones. You can go from one to the other. But it used to be that way, right? I have my cell service. I've got an iPhone. I'm with AT&T. AT&T service sucks. I decide I want to go to Verizon. Well, crap. I can't take my iPhone from AT&T and go to Verizon. Now I have to go over and get a whole new iPhone, which is financially inefficient for me. It's no different than if we didn't have agent of record letters in insurance, right? Oh, well, I really want your value proposition, but now I got to switch and I have to go to Travelers instead of Chubb. Travelers is going to cost me more money. And blah, blah. If you can't deliver the value, then you're never going to get a client that way. And a client shouldn't have to pick. And by the way, disclaimer here, Travelers and Chubb are actually fictitious names that have been changed to protect the innocent. But, when you look at it that way, I mean, it's logical. But people get so upset and so emotional. Guys, if you don't want to lose your business, work to keep it. I mean, this stuff shouldn't be on autopilot. And the number of times that I go into accounts and we find things wrong, and we know we're going to be able to drive change every single time.
It's almost every time.
All I ever hear is, well, we don't see our agent except for renewal.
Right.
If you want to get fat and happy in this industry, you can do it. You can go out, you can sell insurance, you can produce accounts, and then you can just not service them or not deliver any extra value, and you'll make good money off of that account for a couple of years, and then somebody with a value proposition is going to come in and take it from you. And then you're going to have to go out and produce again and again and again. If you're looking at adding value to what you're doing. And look, let's talk about what that means. What are things that can be done to predict or protect you rather from somebody coming in and taking an AOR? Well, I'll give you number one, FaceTime. Be in front of your client. Have intentional follow-up. If it's COVID and you can't go see them in person, email them, call them. I don't care. But every single month at a bare minimum, at least once, if these are sizable clients, you should be reaching out to them. If it's too much, they'll tell you. But let them be the one who make that decision, because if at some point they come back and say, hey, look, this guy's been in my office 4 or 5 times in the last 3 months. I'm like, dude, you told me not to call you but once a quarter. I'm honoring your wishes. At least you have a fallback position.
It's a good point.
Stay in front of them, number one. Number two, set expectations. Define expectations on the front end. Make sure that they know what they should expect from you. And then deliver that. So not only do you have FaceTime, but you set the expectations. Then you have to have a mechanism in place to where you're showing them that you're achieving what you projected you would do in real time, right? So having a servicing matrix that you set up is a sheet that goes out and says, here's what we're going to be doing on your account specifically every month for the next 12 months. Here's what we're going to be doing from a risk management standpoint. Here's what we're going to be doing from a safety and training standpoint. Here's what we're going to be doing from claims handling, audit, all of these things.
Right.
And if you do that and promise that that's what's going to happen, put the accountability measures in place to make sure you do it. And that but not just that you do it, that you outwardly show that client that it's getting done. And this is a thing that I think that a lot of agencies out there who are doing a good job, they're not insurance salespeople, but I think they're missing this one piece of it. And I go back to this inside of that whole thread that I'm talking about. Just because you're doing the work that needs to be done to improve premium, losses, all of those things does not mean your client knows you're doing that.
Right.
They don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's behind the scenes stuff.
If you're not telling them what you're doing, which is why FaceTime is so important, because if you're in front of them, then they're going to perceive it that way. But let's just say with COVID, you can't, but there's other things that need to happen inside of the risk management action plan for that account. If you don't have graphics, if you can't give them something they can touch and feel in real time, your account will be in jeopardy all the time. And I don't want to hear some BS about we give great stewardship reports every year to our clients, because a stewardship report is garbage. A stewardship report is you going in at renewal and saying, oh, by the way, we were too lazy to come to you all year and show you what we were doing, but we're going to give you this at renewal to justify you keeping us around for another year to sell you insurance. Even if you've delivered awesome value, you waited until 9 months into the policy period to tell them everything that you've done. Develop it, have it in real time, and protect yourself from people coming in that have a good value proposition. But more importantly, you might have equal value propositions, but if theirs is more formalized and includes deliverables that go to the client on a regular basis, they're going to beat you every single time. Every single time. So don't hate the BOR. The BOR
embrace it. Embrace the BOR.
Yeah, it is. It's like the skunk ape, man. It just wants to be loved, but is often misunderstood.
It's exactly like the skunk ape. And we should end right there.
And I'm not going to end there. I'm going to actually take the skunk ape one step further and let you know that my wife's new favorite question to ask is when I'm going to take that abnormally small XX 100% polyester skunk ape camp shirt that I bought from China on a Facebook newsfeed ad and present it to you.
I can't wait.
Because you wear a XX in that particular shirt, whether you think you do or not.
Really? I look like a children's schmedium?
Dude, I look like Tommy Boy putting on the blue blazer when I put that thing on. I was afraid to flex my back muscles because I knew I was going to split it right down the middle. So you have that to look forward to, my friend.
I can't wait. I'm actually kind of pissed that you didn't wear it today. To be honest with you.
Number one, I couldn't, and number two, it would probably be extremely inappropriate for me to go to breakfast in Tampa
True.
with my
the client
nipples hanging out. Yeah. Yeah, it would be insane. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it with your Chris Voss book, and
I'll get it at some point.
I'll make sure I get it to you.
Sweet.
Everybody else out there, broker of record letters are not the devil. Quit selling insurance and start delivering value. Quit doing customer service and start offering an awesome client experience. That's it. It's not rocket science. You just got to get off your rear end and do a little something once the deal's done. Killing commercial insurance is getting a sale. Keeping commercial insurance is the art. Have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.